What's up, everybody? This is Edward back with another video. Um, I see MOT is on Bernard Riley's stream talking about conservatism, versus culture warring and different stuff like that. So definitely check that out too. But anyway, I just wanted to get this off my chest real quick. Also, obviously, if you all haven't heard the news, because it's still relatively early because it kind of broke last night. Chadwick Boseman has passed away. May he rest in, people say rest in power, rest in peace. At the end of the day, he was a great actor. He definitely is going to be most known for playing the role as Black Panther, but obviously he played James Brown. He played Jackie Robinson. He played a lot of really, really good roles. A lot of good roles. He played them the way they needed to be played, and he was a great example of you know he was a great example of what a lot of black actors should aspire to be. You know, aspire to be. And obviously he kind of got his start a little bit later, where he really a lot of stuff came at him like really really quickly in kind of a 10-year span. Not that late because he still died relatively young, passing away at 43 years old. So it's a conversation that's going to come up um, probably later on in the week because there's a lot of things you can break down. I could break down about now you're starting to understand he's been battling this for 4 years. So that was right around when Black Panther. That's when Black Panther came out. So a lot of times people don't know everything, so we make these assumptions putting into the context of the information we do know when it comes to feminism as far as geekdom and stuff like that. Why would they try to replace Chadwick Boseman and all of that? Obviously you still see him doing movies, so it's like, was he getting phased out? Was because of an agenda? And once again, I've already said Kevin Feige hasn't completely and obviously this is about Chadwick, but I'm just giving an example. Other things could be talked about. Kevin Feige has not pulled a Kathleen Kennedy yet. So now knowing this, it kind of makes more sense as to why the rumors were the rumors as far as the direction, even though we saw him doing movies. So definitely thinking about his family. Um, yeah, man, he had a lot of stuff he could have did when it comes to acting. He really did. Um, so that it is what it is, man. 2020, you got Kobe Bryant, you got Chadwick. People could probably throw in John Lewis in there too. I will also say this before I jump into what I'm about to talk about. That's why I didn't put it in the title because I'm not. It's not that people are clickbaiting, but I'm not. This is not what the video's about, so I'm not going to do that. Also, Charles is talking about it now too, so definitely check him out. But what I will say, I actually heard it first on Tiki TV. Like it broke while we was talking about something as far as what was going on with that bubble back and forth. But what I will take the time to say as well is Chadwick Boseman died of colon cancer, stage 4. He's been battling it for 4 years. Understand that we talk about the police killing black men and all this shit. I get that. Colon cancer is one that is dwarfs the police. Colon cancer is one of the top 2 or 3 killers of black men. And as black men, it's been said, I don't know how much weight I'm gonna give to this, but I'm gonna put it out there that a big reason why it's a big killer is because black men don't get checked. Now, I don't think that was the issue with Chadwick necessarily, but I will say that black men don't get checked. They don't get checked because of how our traditional views of I guess anal. I'm gonna just say it just like that. But at the end of the day, understand that if you have a history of that in your family, I don't even need to say what you need to be doing. And even if you don't, this man died at 43 years old. That means he was 39 when he came up. So I mean, I'm in my early 30s. Really, honestly, knowing the how serious that is, black men should be getting used to doing shit when it comes and here's the thing. Obviously, checking your colon, but at the same time, understanding what gut health is. That's a new thing that's starting to trend, but that's something that's been important. Gut health, digestive health, cleaning out your colon, stuff like that. Really look into that. Really look into that because checking is one thing, but really seriously understanding that, because that is a big killer of black men. It really is. If you really go and look at the stats of that, I think it's the top 3, if not top 2. Like, and that obviously health is across the fucking board. And obviously this dude was a rich dude because he's been an actor for a while and he hasn't been struggling, He was probably not a struggling actor because he had other movies. Even though Chadwick kind of got fucked over when it comes to his pay compared to the work that he did. Let's just and the money he actually did generate. Um, like the money he should have got from Black Panther, and he should have got a lot more, especially being the star of that. And at the end of the day, you take him out, that doesn't necessarily mean that movie works, even though it was an ensemble cast. So I just wanted to put that out there. I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah. And it's something that we don't talk about. And I'm not a medical dude. I leave that shit to like Super Triz. In fact, I might do something about that and talk to Super Triz so you can get him on. And then we talk about a variety of topics around chat. We go from the geekdom stuff, from that geekdom political stuff to the um to maybe some stuff because you always want to learn. Like, I mean, obviously you want to learn from stuff like this, and it's something that needs to be talked about, and it's really never talked about in the manosphere. I mean, we talk about police, but let's be honest. Like, I mean, let's be real. I mean, unless you're in the lower class, I mean, I'm not gonna dismiss that because obviously I've gone hard on that. I just think people are too hot or too cold on that. But anyway, moving forward. Moving forward. So basically, this thing is about marriage. And yeah, you see the title. It's not clickbait. This is what I want to make very clear on this. Because understand that as thinking black men, you have to understand the totality of a topic. And we can have different points of view, but at the end of the day, it's important to understand all the points of view. Now, whether you land on that or not, that's up to you. But it's about looking at things logically. So here's the thing. One of the things that really kind of annoyed me when I was on MOT stuff and everybody was saying is this idea of, and I fought with Ramil on a lot of this, is this, and Ramil is not against marriage, but like the way Ramil, I see it this way. I don't know if I see it this way. People are going to do what the fuck they want to do. And at the end of the day, the only thing you can do is put the information out there. And then if they do what they do, they're going to have to accept the rewards and the consequences that comes with that. And that's with anything. That's with a business investment. That's with anything. It's with anything. So my thing is, as far as, let's say, Kevin Samuels, because he's kind of like the top dude as far as when it comes to marriage, promoting marriage. And he doesn't like outright hardcore promote marriage like that, but he's not against marriage, right? And that's really, I guess, the rub that people have. And then with the kind of exposure that he has. Here's the reality of the situation. I keep saying this. Kevin is talking about people on a certain track. So everybody know, even if you haven't gone to school, everybody knows what it is. Or let's do two aspects. We're going to talk about education and military. If you said you wanted a PhD, there is a certain track you have to get on that path. Unless if you're going to do it in a reason or be a doctor, there's a certain track for that. Same thing with a lawyer. And each level has levels to it. Kevin's talking about people that want to be financial, like high value men is a very small percentage of black men. And obviously he'd be cool with increasing that. I'm sure he's evangelizing, trying to increase that and trying to get more black men to buy into that. His definition, to buy into that. But that requires a certain track. Now, sure, you can debate a little bit on the track, but then it comes back to who are you to debate it? Do you have any of the metrics that have been set that will qualify about a high value man? If you're going to be taken seriously with credibility. So, for example, like there's a reason I promote Glenn. I've been promoting Glenn and Cameron way before Kevin blew up. Everybody, like y'all listen to me knows that, right? Glendon Cameron is not married. He has he has made money for 5 years, right? He's made money for 5 years, like as far as over 10,000 a month. He's been making that for actually 10, probably longer than that. Gone from being homeless to that. He was married. Remember what the fuck I told y'all. and this is not an anti-marriage thing, but I just want to put this out. There's a reason I tell y'all to look at videos. I told you, and obviously Glenn Cameron is one dude, but what I'm saying is he has that video talk about his marriage, and obviously that's not indicative of marriage or whatever, but you get what I'm saying. My point is, here's a guy that has money, that is wealthy, has made his money, and it wasn't until really he got divorced. Even though he had money, but he wasn't able to fly until he got out of that. And that's based on like a lot of what he was able to say. He even said there was things that was actively being sabotaged. Now, obviously that comes down to who he picked. He even admits that. So I'm not saying that has anything to do with marriage, but the point is necessarily, but the point is and I don't care about catchphrases. I really don't. But I'm just saying that there's more to that shit. But on the flip side of that, what you all have to understand is he's talking about a particular group of people in a particular track, on a particular track. That's where the Henrys come from. The on the way people, the hit squad, Henrys in training type of stuff. And he's doing that because that show is designed to really anchor. This is what a high value means. This is what it is that you're running your mouth about. Talk about females. You all, the level up chicks, the service that he's doing is basically bringing hyper focus and bring clarity into what these women are being told that they want. Get out of the emotionality of it that you'll live in until you die, because that's what he probably saw in the church, because he talks about that, black women being single, and basically he's saying this is what it actually looks like to get those dudes. Now, granted, he said a lot of women should be happy, and he calls it an average man. Maybe there should be another term for it, because we already know in our community, our women shame blue collar black men. A blue collar black man could be making $80,000 or $75,000, $80,000 in the South. And even though he would probably be on par with a dude making 150, 160 in New York, maybe even more, but he's going to get shamed because of what people think of his trades, because of bullshit. Now, obviously, that's not what he's focused. He could probably do a whole video about that, whole class about that, but that's not what his focus is. Just like when my focus is the gynocracy, at least at the time being, the focus ain't the other stuff. So it's like, when you focus a camera, there's foreground and background, and the background sometimes foggy, the foreground is foggy, the foreground is foggy. That's what the focus is. And as a thinking black man, you need to people should be look at that and understand that. Now, why am I bringing this video up? Because Rael mentioned the wealth generating piece. But one thing that I kept on railing again that didn't really come through was, a lot of times the way marriage is sold, and this is how women sell it. That's why it's important for men to have this discussion. That's why I'm actually cool with Kevin talking about it, because it needs to be men saying this shit and debating this shit, not women, because women are going to put in what's in their own best interest. Kevin is not telling black men to get married for bitches. Let me be I have listened to many of his shows before I've listened to his channel in different interactions. Kevin is not telling black men to get married to black women to benefit black women. That is not what Kevin is saying. He has never said that. And I've listened to him long enough on different platforms and his own platform to tell you, he's saying that, and whether you believe it or not, he's saying that for the men, for the development of the men. Now, people will say, well, we know what marriage is. We know what the laws are. I get all that, and I agree with that. I agree the laws need to change. But at the same time, this idea that he's in here, his agenda is to just help women. Kevin had like 50, 60,000 people before he started doing this. He had like 50,000 sub channel for a while now, when he was doing more marketing and sales. And I can tell you, there's a pathway to get to up to 300,000 just by talking about that, especially if you can show you have the credibility for it. But the accusations, they're on the low. What he's really doing is trying to help Strags get high value men. That's stupid. I'm not even gonna entertain that shit no more. That's dumb. And anybody saying that, y'all are being y'all being intellectually lazy, because y'all know either y'all are not actually looking at what's being said and y'all haven't looked at the shows. Because really, you only need to see one of Kevin's shows. All the shows are relatively consistent. It's just which different chicks are going to call. It's the same shit. Some things may come up, others it may get more churchy a little bit on some shows where he talks about more of his experience with the church, depending on or experience depending on what the calls go. But at the end of the day, the shit is fairly consistent. It's not okay. You got to catch this one show to catch this one thing. I've seen enough of them to see that, and I've watched enough of different channels to know how to pick out bullshit, even if it's subtle. Believe me, even with a lot of different aspects. So my thing is, you have to understand that what these guys are saying is, now I may not necessarily agree with it, but they're saying that basically marriage is a part of that develop. Oh, here's the main thing I want to communicate with y'all. Actually, fuck a lot of that shit I just said, even though I stand by it. The main thing I want to communicate with you all is this. I say that I have said this for a long time now. I say it over and over every once in a while. So this has nothing to do with me defending anybody. You are accountable to who you listen to. All of you all are grown. Most of you all of you all probably should at least graduate high school, so you have a certain level of critical thinking skills. Let's cut the bullshit. So at the end of the day, if the charge is Kevin is polluting the manosphere by convincing dudes through pussy politics to basically get married, then them niggas was sheep anyway, and they deserve to be slaughtered because they're weak. And they're doing nothing but fucking us up. If they're that fucking stupid and they're that easily convinced, then they deserve to get married and they shit took. But let's keep it real. Remember what I just said about the track shit? Kevin has said more than once, he doesn't think dudes should even think about marriage really into their late 20s and really shouldn't even get married until like in their early 30s. So in my opinion, I'm thinking like what, 29 to like 32, 28 to 32. Now you got to remember, in the black community, we have this age. He mentioned this, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. And this is for black men too. You don't even got to talk about the women. But they do it too. We have this childlike mentality where it's like we're 10 years back behind. The truth is, yes, for most matchmakers, we're not as established as what we should be by the time we're in our late 20s and early 30s. There's a lot of shit that should have happened in between you being 18 and 28. Remember, even if you go to college, you're still 6 years removed from that if you do undergrad. By the time so my point is, by the time you get into 30, 30, 33, 31, you should already be way, way established. But generally, and I've seen this in how he's responded to dudes that are like 35, 37, 38, 36, he doesn't respond to them as what took you so long. It's perfectly, so a lot of how Kevin looks at it from my perspective is like really akin to how Latins look at it. Latins think you should get married, but they don't really put the onus on dudes to get married like early. They're like, oh, if you're 37, 38 and you're getting married, they don't see anything really wrong with that. Because the key thing is, are you eligible for it? Are you in a situation where you qualify for it? That's where your manhood gets tested. But and then the pressure gets put on the women to basically get married, to basically get in line to get married. Now, obviously, we're dealing with different countries, different laws. But my point is, if you're a guy and you're on the track that he's talking about, you're going to fall into one of two camps. Either you're going to see what's going on and you're going to decide that I can always get married. So it's not like if I take that, I can always change my mind about it. But that's not something I'm worried about. I'm going to be on a bachelor game, Mr. Research, or for example, or you're already in alignment with what he thinks anyway. So if you're a guy that's a Henry in training, as he would call it, like let's say somebody like King Sigma, they would qualify for that, except King Sigma is seeing what I see. But let's say he didn't. Let's say he agreed with Kevin. At the end of the day, dudes telling you not to do that, unless those are dudes in your peer group that you see, or at least dudes that you know what they coming with, random motherfuckers on YouTube are not going to change that. You've already made that decision. So at that point, the red pill thing to do, now I'm not saying that they're a red pill, but the red pill thing to do is to then say, okay, officially, these are the reasons you really shouldn't do it, but if you're going to do it, this is how to protect yourself. And it's kind of like, okay, officially, if you're not going to, officially abstinence is the best policy. But if you must have sex, you need to protect yourself. Meaning you need to put yourself in position to have assets. Because even Glennon Cameron said, and here's the thing, and that's why I mentioned him, because Glennon doesn't say you shouldn't get married. But what he says is if you're going to do it, this is what you should do. He's been married. He's been there, done that. And that's probably not what he's going to do. But he reserves the right to change his mind. You know, Alan Roger Curry lived the bachelor lifestyle for a long time. And then he decided to change his mind. Dudes can always change their mind. And as far as I'm concerned, the most red pill thing you can do is preserve options. It's about options. It's not about trying to tell men what to do. Now, yes, we can argue because here's the thing. Just because you're yes, it is true that if you're married, a lot of times you'll be compromised when it comes to red pill shit because sometimes your mentality may be bent. But that's not but Angry Man's like a perfect example of like when you look at his audience are in relationships, but they still understand the bullshit. Because there's degrees to the red pill. Red pill is about being aware. And then using that awareness to basically be able to plot your course as safe as you can. You know, men plan, God laughs. You know, I think of people like Chadwick Boseman, and I'm a dude I'm a planner. I like to plan. But like at 43 years old, man, colon cancer, man. That means he was dealing with that at 30. O'Shea's 39. I mean, think about it. There's Angry Man's like, I think 41 or something. Like for real though. Like that, like think about that. So I mean, and we don't think of these guys as like older guys at all. I'm 33. We'll be 34 in what? Fucking 2 months. Like for real, a lot of your a lot of your commenters, dudes that comment. So my point is, this thing about I don't agree with it, so because I don't agree with it, it's anti-manosphere. I don't agree with that because the truth is I'm a combination of Igmore / group economics. That's really, if you want to understand where I land in this space, Passport Bro, Igmore, group economics. These are the three things that probably can make, and then we'll say capitalists to a certain. These are the things that make me as far as the manosphere of politics, where I kind of land. But my thing is, black men. Did I agree with how black men reacted to MGTOW? No, but I understood that black men have a unique issue when it comes to MGTOW, and unique issue. I mean, when it comes to what we deal with, and it doesn't matter that other groups are catching up. Because they're not even that aware like they should be, because they have different dynamics. It's not just about catching up. It's about the tools that they have at their disposal. White men have different tools. You got a white man that basically shot up other white men, was able to walk down the street and then put his gun down and not have to, and the way he was cool, like he wasn't even worrying about nothing. We have a different situation. We have different cards we have to play. So we have to approach it differently, just like they have to approach it differently. Just like with Hispanics, they have multiple countries they can pull from. So they got their own tribal shit. They got a lot of different shit they can do. But then again, look at the single motherhood rate in Colombia. People would never thought Colombia would have had that kind of single motherhood rate. I wouldn't have. Because they look whiter than most other Hispanics anyway. So it's interesting. And then when you look at what BGS is saying, you know, that's not the greatest argument for traveling. But at the end of the day, like I've said before, it's about the single motherhood is just a symptom of an overall arching problem. It's just we point to that. But single motherhood is more associated with the defiance, number one, and two, the lack of cooperation with a dude. Because say what you want to a lot of Hispanic women, look, there's a reason why black men were willing to play the stepdaddy game. And the truth is, black men are pretty much very much in the best position in an environment going forward, because all we need is a woman to cooperate. We just need a woman to recognize the value that a man brings to make her kids better and to make her life easier. This is why you had that video O'Shea did with I forget her name, but his Puerto Rican chick, where she was talking about Safari. And look, I get it, it's Safari, but let's go with it. And she was talking about how he was underappreciated. And how a lot of these females, she wasn't talking about Nicki Minaj, but you talk about a lot of these, because they were, I guess, commenting on him saying he's being lame. which is funny to me because he was with, but my point is you call niggas lame that bitches that look better than you value. And then you get mad because these dudes go with these women. And not to mention that, and obviously with Hispanic women, there's fuckery with Hispanic women, Dominican women, Puerto Rican women, Lala Anthony. But my point is, women see that, and every woman doesn't come from the same household. Every woman don't come from a black household where they're just completely devoid of shit. Now, granted, they may be rebelling against the hardcore shit that their own groups are doing, but they see the value. They're not so goofy where they don't see the value. And if a dude is making their life easier, they're not gonna rebel. Like a lot of these other women don't have this I need to be as strong as a man shit. That's one thing that Hispanic women don't do. Hispanic women don't buy into this I need to be like a man shit. That's what actually makes black women get uniquely fucked up. But to come back to the topic, my point is he's talking to dudes that are on a particular track, and he's talking really to women that want dudes on a particular track, saying if you want this guy, this is what this guy looks like. This is what this guy wants. This guy does not need to fucking compromise, and he's not going to. What's up, Fast Attack? Much appreciated. I know this is early, and there's some other Edward Steele in his own closet. Nah. Edward, so Flip Cool says, Edward, all races except our poor people marry. Why don't we? We don't marry. Like, okay, so understand this is where BGS's work comes into play. Out of wedlock birth is 84 in Colombia. So also you have to understand that we don't marry like that because of America is one of the furthest countries in the fourth industrial revolution, number one. But number two, a lot of these countries marry because the culture is much more intact because they don't have money. So you can't just look at all people and actually what you're saying is not true. That's not true in the West like that. That's not necessarily true what you're saying. That may be true in more patriarchal minded countries, but if you look at feministic minded countries, that's not the case, especially in the West. That's not the true in Canada. That's not true in Europe, especially the Nordic countries. That's not true what you said. That's so we can't say all because we got to predicate that. And that's one of the things about BGS's work on the single motherhood thing globally with the fourth industrial revolution. That, by the way, I keep saying complex design has been railing against for years. It's been something that he's brought to the breakdown. He's brought to every channel he's been on. That, quite frankly, black people don't want to hear. They kind of I can see you all rolling your eyes when he says that because it sounds very nerdy talking about the fourth industrial revolution. I guess it has to be branded in a different type of way. Maybe if we brand it called global single motherhood, the global baby mama problem, you all would care a little bit more. Yeah, Rael, and because the thing about it is I don't come here to say I'm right, you're wrong, fuck you. Unless it's like the only time you'll see me do that is somebody saying some just straight stupid shit. But marriage, there are black men that want to get married. Like there are still 33% of black men that are married, and I think that'll stabilize at around maybe 25%. Like, which is still 1 in 4. It's still 1 in 4. Right now we're 1 in 3. Even when your boomers die out, I still think it'll be 1 in 4, maybe 1 in 5, which is not like that rare. And then if you start filtering for economics, that number will probably go up. Now I can think it's goofy, whatever, but the point is they're gonna do it. So one of the things is the manosphere is if we're here to people say, oh, but you're here to help black men. Okay, nigga, then help me. Don't just tell me what the fuck to do. I'm saying I'm gonna do this. So do you have any content for me doing this? And the answer, and yeah, there's some shit. That's why I point you Glenn the camera, by the way. But there's some answers for that. What you need to do to protect yourself, what a prenup is for, how to properly execute a prenup. You know, have you really looked at this? Like, stop getting. Why are you really getting married? Are you getting married because bitch sucked your dick good, or are you getting married on some real wealth building shit? Because people can come at me with that wealth building shit all day. That ain't why most black men get married. Even black men is paid. That ain't why they get married, because they don't think, y'all niggas ain't thinking like Dr. Dre. They're not, because most dudes that got money, most high value men ain't getting prenups. So let's stop acting like most dudes are really aware of what's really going on, even though this shit's in your fucking face. So let's just keep that real. So this idea that it's just about marriage, yeah, I get annoyed by that, but there's definitely a conversation to be had. There's definitely a conversation to be had from dudes that were married, divorced, they're currently married, or what they think they could do differently. This is why Fantastic's valued in this space, because Fantastic is married. And you hear his perspective on, what he would have did and what he knew. And you can't really say shit to him because he is married. I would love to see a video with Fantastic and Bernard about marriage. Because now we can't play the "you never did it" game, and then you add in BGS. Let's take off the bullshit about the other stuff, because BGS clearly has kids, clearly has a legacy. Through his because his kids are married, at least 2 of them, I believe, at least his son, and his daughter was offered marriage. She said no. Maybe BGS needs to have her call Kevin. But with the dude that had the kid with her, she said no. So obviously he did something right, despite he did something right. Well, Flip, cool. The problem with the income argument, I don't agree with that argument. That's a bullshit argument. Because the truth is that the incomes are better than one argument is a complete bullshit argument. It's a complete bullshit argument. Fuck that argument. And I'm going to tell you why. Because you can cohabitate with a bitch and combine incomes. You talking, because people, women, a lot of women that are married want to have their own bank account. And let's keep it real. A lot of women don't want to be married. They rather belong to the streets than be married why do you think these women that call Kevin, a lot of them want to be stay-at-home wives? Because a lot of these chicks are lazy. And a lot of them, what they really want is they want a sugar daddy and just call it marriage. They want a pole. They want free money. If they don't want to work in general, they don't want to work for the marriage to keep the marriage right. That income shit is some shit that black men have deluded themselves into buying into, that black men have to get out of, because I know plenty of dudes that cohabitate with the women they had children with that got money that are not married. And she works. There's a YouTuber or two that's in that situation. So the argument about 2 incomes are better than one, then you don't need to bring marriage into it then. That's not an argument. That's not a good enough argument to get married, because there's nothing that marriage does that you can move in with a bitch and do that. And a lot of black men, a lot of black people do it. This is what your black women always try to play when they try to talk about the single motherhood card. Well, a lot of black women, they're cohabitating with their baby's fathers. It's not. But then again, you come back with the statistics that black women are making more money than these dudes. So with that, and hell, let's keep it real. There's a lot of black women that's making more money than dudes that they're married to. You've heard a couple of calls about that. You've heard a couple of women that have blown up marriages because they were married to dudes. The problem is they couldn't separate the socioeconomic status from the look status. Because at the end of the day, the type of dude's income you're going to bring in is going to be directly related to your looks. It's not related to your career achievements. But women don't understand that, and that's something that Kevin is definitely basically evangelizing by really bringing clarity to that, because women have allowed themselves to delude themselves that they can buy their way You can't buy a high income earner. You can't. You can buy a pretty nigga, but you can't buy a high income earner. And even with a pretty nigga, you can't buy, if you buy a pretty nigga, chances are he's gonna cheat. Because number one, he has nothing to lose, and number two, you're really fucking with his manhood. The fact that you're making more money than him. And this is what a lot of women don't understand. You will never understand this. And it doesn't fucking matter what you think. You will never be able to buy a high income earner. You won't. And when I say high income earner, I'm talking about relatively speaking. You will never be able to buy a dude that makes more money than you. So if you're Oprah, yeah, you're lucky to get a Stedman. But you're not gonna get a billionaire unless he plans on taking your money. And Oprah is, you're not gonna be a dude. Sure, if you're Jesse Williams, a dude that was on ER, whatever that hospital show was, you'll be able to get that chick was able to buy him when he didn't have no money. Even got a couple of kids out of him. But as soon as his economics got better than hers, he bounced. He got tired of her shit. And he was as loyal as you could ever really hope for, given the dynamic. Looks, you can't do that. And that's one thing that I haven't heard. And that's one of the differences. Like, women you can buy dudes that look good, but you're never gonna buy a dude as a high income earner. You gotta have the looks to pay that. You gotta have the looks to pay that. And I think that's one of the goofiest things that feminism has taught women. And that's one of the things that black women, quite frankly, have bought into, to know other women don't buy into that shit. Only black women believe that shit. I'm just not thinking about this. It's an epiphany, but it's simplistically brilliant. Women are actually trying to think they can use their jobs and careers to buy income. And part of that delusion is two incomes are better than one. Well, we both make 300,000. Two incomes, or we make 600. No, because I'm competing. It's not a team. It's like when you put the Lakers together. You put the Lakers with Karl Malone and all these other things. We put a whole bunch of people together, a whole bunch of old folks together, and they used to be good, so we're gonna make that. No, it's not. It doesn't work that way. It's about synergy. And the reality of the situation is, if you put two millionaire people, 2 million, a black woman makes a millionaire, a black man makes a millionaire, and you just do a black man that makes 500,000 and a woman that makes like 70, by all means, it's a high probability that the dude that made just 500,000 may end up making more. That team may beat that team. Because you got other elements, like people want to compete with people that think they better, women that are out of their position. Like, it's funny how black women are making all this money, but black women are like the poorest women. And even if you filter out from the hood rats and project chicks, when you look at black women, they're like 92s or 88s, you find that they're fucked up because they spend their money comes in and out in lifestyle spending. So they're sitting here those 92s are not really wealth-minded like that necessarily. Not as much as people like to act like they are. They're too busy trying to keep up with the Joneses and trying to look good rather than doing the work to build wealth. This is why when people do that two income shit, that shit don't matter, because her income is her money. Your money is her money. That's different if you talk about two incomes and she's submitting to you. But how many of y'all in that situation? And you're going to secure that with marriage? People act getting married, all of us. Getting married gives you certain legal protections, but getting married doesn't make a bitch submit to you. And the 80% divorce rate should prove that. Hell, even Kevin said that the women they went worldly on him, and then they regretted it after that. So then you're actually married to the society at large too, which is why these laws need to change and the culture needs to change. But yeah, black men got to come out of that delusion. And by the way, say what you want to about Kevin. You ain't never heard Kevin talk about that two income shit. You have never heard Kevin say that. You have never, ever, ever heard Kevin say you black men should get married for two incomes. That's called, in fact, I would submit that Kevin will rail against that harder than I am. You know why? Because you know what that sounds like? That sounds like 50-50. That sounds like you not paying the cost to be the boss, which is something that Kevin actually preaches. That's what that sounds like. Why do you think he always talks about what it takes to be a stay-at-home person? What type of man is going to do that? Because Kevin, again, this is what talking about. This is why I want to be clear on who he's talking to and who he's talking about when he says high value men in relation to what these women want. Because these women are not calling him because they want 50-50 relationships. If they want, if they, hell, they probably can't, they actually can't get that at the level they're at because they've priced themselves out of that. They've priced themselves out of that. And even Rebecca Lynn Pope, and I'm going to start sharing her stuff on my community tab because I've been listening to some of her shit. And her shit is on fuck point. If you're a female or a dude, but if you're a female, you need to listen to Rebecca and you need to listen to Kevin. Those are going to be the people that's going to probably give you the most help because you're hearing it from a black woman that is married, that did have the looks to a certain extent, has dated the ballers. And then you're looking at Brush Arms in Atlanta, and then you're looking at a dude that at least has dealt with, has been married more than once, has been in all of that stuff as well. Clearly, he bounced back from that, you know. So you're hearing it from credible people. In my opinion, if you're a female and you're trying to get your mind back right, those are probably the best two people to listen to, in my opinion. Best two people. And if you're a dude, like I said, I promote Glennon as far as that, because he's been married. He's been through the shit. He's taking the hits. He's come back. He's doing, everybody can get into sales. The way he talks business, everybody can do if they actually want to do it. Regardless of how y'all feel about him, I'm talking about who has the best information. Rael, yeah, he says that, but at the same time, Kevin, but at the same time, but at the same time, Sigma's a lot stronger than he was then, as far as where he's at economically in every metric. So he says that, but the truth is, if he really thought, I honestly, you took out of context what King Sigma was saying. King Sigma was saying that based on the mindset he had. But I doubt he did not say that if he could go back in time, he regrets doing it. Based on the mindset he had then, he might have did it. But the reality is the way shit is now, he's not for it. And again, that doesn't mean he would be in a better position. See, man, all that bullshit that people want to talk about networks. So now we're going to act like you, when you join a fraternity, that's a network. That has nothing to do with marriage. Let's stop acting like marriage. Like, come on. Now, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to create all these untangible benefits that marriage gives. And then we make it like that is exclusive to marriage. And there's a reason why you don't hear that promoted harder. Because the truth is, there is nothing that marriage gives you in that sense other than what people think of you that you can't get outside of that. You can network outside of marriage. And King Sigma has said that. Especially when you're a dude. And now even when you're a woman. All these women making all this money. You really believe that? And then people can talk about the top 1% political class, all that. But guess, okay. But at the end of the day, if you can make that money for you, we talk about all this wealth and all this wealth generate. Get the fuck out of here. Because most of y'all are not even tapping that kind of money. Like, I've talked to people that make like $600,000 a month, you know, and them being married ain't what makes the difference. It ain't. They built companies, and through those companies, they got networks. Also, another thing that Sigma was talking about, and Glennon talked about this too, is the reality of corporate citizenship. Corporation, you having corporate knowledge, in my opinion, is almost more important now, because if you have an idea, they're not looking at you. They're looking at the idea and the viability of that idea in terms of investment capital. So a corporation is not married. So again, this is what it comes back to. I understand why he says what he says and who he's talking to, and I can accept it as that. Y'all, like, dudes that want to buy into marriage as the savior bastion, y'all can go ahead and do that. I mean, it's just like, I mean, y'all, I don't have an issue with that. It's just that is what it is. I mean, you all are clearly going into stuff with eyes wide open because you all understand what all the naysaying shit is because it's been said. So if people want to go out and get married anyway and get married young, get married early, then do that. I mean, I encourage it. And, I hope it works out for you. I haven't completely removed marriage off the table, but I'm not pressed for it. And at the end of the day, even Kevin says if you're under 30, if you're under 20, like 7, 26, you shouldn't be thinking about marriage. You still got work you need to do. And a big reason he says that, just to be fair, is he says that's because chances are you're not established where you need to be to even get married. That's what he says. Now, the truth is, you got a lot of dudes that will argue that black men need to get married earlier. And chances are, if you're in your 30s, and that's another thing I want y'all to really hear me say, if you all are in your 30s, you can think for yourself. So if you're like between 28 and 31 and you choose to get married, it ain't shit Kevin said or what people like Kevin are saying is making you get married. You're doing that because you want to do it. Listen to Rael, for example. Listen to B, Rael, and Gabe Moses. These dudes would say exactly the same shit they're saying if a Kevin Samuels did not exist. So this idea that the manosphere is being polluted with that rhetoric, no. These dudes buy into it because they already agree with it. I don't remember, most of these guys are supposed to be thinking black men. So these are not people that they just don't know. They're not like females. They're being given feministic propaganda and they otherwise don't know no better. And they're buying into that. And then they're looking at 20 years later, oh, I fucked up. No, these are people that Gab Talk Media, another one. These are people that they made their decision already. Kevin just creates more clarity and focus through it and promote the decision the ideology they already have. And if you understand the manosphere, you understand that has always been a part of the manosphere to a certain extent. Manosphere has never truly adopted MGTOW principles to the extent of saying completely fuck marriage. SYSBM does not say no marriage. SYSBM says do not allow race to basically tie you to people that otherwise are not qualified. And in that way, Kevin actually agrees with that. Kevin cares about more of these dudes being on their path when it comes to like hitting those check marks than it is who they get married to. Now, obviously, he would prefer them to get married with black women. That's why he typically is talking to black women. But at the end of the day, this is why when dudes are sitting there saying that he's telling black men to marry strag, that's a lie. And you all are lying when you say it. Because you all need to produce a video clip anywhere in which it alludes to that. Because that's not true. He's never said that. And getting married in general does not mean marry a strag. And we got to start applying things where they are. Stop doing that shit. I don't like that shit. Like, stop, because when I talk about the gynocracy, I'm very careful to not just blowingly just say shit just because it fits in. I make sure it has to hit its proper hits, because that pretty much undermines the credibility of what I'm talking about. I don't try to say, well, fuck it, I'm going to emotionalize my way past this little inconvenient truth. I'm like, no, let's see what you got. This is why, with Rael, when I brought Rael, let's see what you got. Because that's only going to enhance what I'm talking about, or it's going to make me have to go back and look at what I'm saying. And we need to have more of that in the manosphere and not so much some of the zealot talk. Even with the game shit. Yeah, I ain't even want to talk about OnlyFans. That white chick came in there and wrecked OnlyFans with that 2 million shit, and those are white boys. Those are white boys that put that money out like that. And now OnlyFans had to change all its rules. But and now all these hoes, I'm seeing these blogs talking about these hoes crying. Well, sex workers. I'm like, get the fuck out of here trying to humanize hoes. Well, there's sex workers. It needs rights. I'm like, no. I don't want to hear shit about sex workers until you legalize prostitution, because you all are gonna stop on the one side making it like a man is an incel if they buy that shit. I understand how men feel about it. I'm talking about politically. Either you're a loser or you're a sex trafficker if you do that. No, and if we're gonna play that game, then no, you all are not sex workers with rights. The hell with that. Oh, are you serious? So I can't charge $200 or $100. I can't charge no more than $50 a month because because this white chick, and she thought these were white women that said that. I'm like, no, you can create, if you're charging that much, then bitch, create your own website. Create your own website. Create your own fucking merchant account. Do business, bitch. Sorry, OnlyFans has made it so pussy pics and titty pics and little titty snaps y'all have been able to monetize. But if you're doing that kind of numbers, do real business, bitch. Stop, actually create a website or some shit. Get a web designer. Stop spending the money on bullshit. Most of these chicks, oh, well, we're using this in order to survive. Shut the fuck up. I do not want to hear that shit. Now they're trying to make that shit some sort of empowerment bullshit. And I've seen it on more than one blog. I just wasn't going to talk about it. But that Bella Thorne chick, I mean, that's a Disney bitch. So that's white. Please, the white boys did that. And by the way, for everybody that's talking about OnlyFans is powered by black men, that's not true at all. Because there's a lot of white bitches, and there's more white bitches on there than it is black women. So trust me, no, white boys, that shit, black men are not powering that on their own at all. It's majority white men doing that. Just wanted to go on a side note. Well, I mean, the thing about it is, and one thing to be fair, Glennon does say that if you're going to have a child, you should get married. Glennon does say that. I want to be very clear about that. He does believe that. So I don't want to make it like, I don't want to put his name in my mouth and make it like he's an anti Kevin. That's not true. Glennon does believe you should get married if you're going to have a child. Period. He has said that. And he does buy into the culture that marriage actually produces. And he was married when he had his kids. So I want to make that very clear, because I don't want nobody to say, oh, well, he's saying you against marriage, because he's not. He's the one that's talking about if you're going to get married, this is how you do it right. And he believes a man should do what he wants to do, but just be smart about it. So I just wanted to be clear. Exactly, Flip. And that's the point I was telling you. We can't. The thing about it is you got to understand that a woman, most of these women are not marriage minded. They're not. So this idea, like most of these women want their own bank accounts. Understand something. If a bitch gets me, understand something. A woman needs to be, if a woman's not willing to trust you with 80% of her income, then she dead ass serious, then you shouldn't get married. Mr. Researcher said that or alluded to that. The level of trust that a woman has to give to be a wife, the vulnerability, they're not willing to do. Not black women, and quite frankly, not American women are willing to do for the most part. Or if they do it, they got to have some superhuman metric that pretty much overwhelms everything, even if they don't qualify for that. Which is why a lot of the friction on his show even happens. Because when you act, and the thing about it is these are women that actually call. You see, if Kevin did a show, you'll have some niggas that just want to argue, but I don't think, if Kevin, dudes understand cost benefit analysis. Women, they like to emotionalize it to where it doesn't matter. And when you see it in real time, when you see women in real time just dismiss logic for their emotions, and they know the logic of it, I think a lot of dudes give women too much credit because they don't see women do that enough in real time. Women, they just 1 plus 1 is 8 because it's convenient now because I want it to be. Appreciate that, Nameless. I've never read the Richer Sex, so I appreciate that, Nameless protagonist. The stepdad game is definitely lesser than it used to be, but there's still niggas willing to play stepdad in the real world. Not a whole bunch, but there's still dudes. But yeah, it is starting to be more and more over. But there's still bargain basement shoppers that want to believe in hope. And number one, you ain't never heard Kevin really promote stepfatherism either. He makes that shit very clear when these women are coming with kids. He says, "Why would a man do this, do this, do this?" Exactly, name is we're expected. I call it the "my cake and eat it too" syndrome. Women are expected to basically, and that's I call it that, and I call it feminine supremacy because patriarchy was really a gift for certain costs. Well, flip cool the way they make it sound like you can't do it without marriage. That's the way they make it sound like. Well, keeping men triggered. Nobody's keeping men triggered. Like I don't. The manosphere is not keeping men triggered. Keeping dudes aware is not keeping them triggered, and also keeping them triggering them can motivate them. And are you serious? Are you really gonna say, Rael, that what we do is no different than Cynthia G? Are you really serious? Can you honestly tell me that you can look at Ramil's channel and then tell me that that's no different than what the fuck? Cynthia G don't say shit about what women need to do. She just blames black men. That's not what the manosphere does. The manosphere tells you what you should do. Cynthia G doesn't do that. So I don't know what you're talking about. That tells me you kind of have a fundamental misunderstanding as to what we do. Yeah. So I mean, and think about what I'm talking about. Like I said, I'm for. I want to hear. I look, and I'm not even talking about with Kevin, but because Kevin talked a specific thing, but and that's what Why I'm. You got things like Bernard Riley's channel, and I'm about to hop off of this in a second because I may want to jump in that conservative conversation, but it's not that marriage. It's not here. That's another key that people need to understand. It's not that marriage is undesirable for black men. It's that you're only told that marriage is valuable if you only marry black women in our culture. So that means that it's to who. It's not the what. It's to who. That's what people forget about. Appreciate that, Tackman Clan Killer.
Here, it's just
Shout out to Roger Report. Y'all need to make sure y'all join his lives and get his subs up. I'm gonna start sharing this stuff because he definitely be coming with the work. I don't know. This is a Disney chick. And the funny thing is about going back to the OnlyFans thing is she said that she had no intention of doing nudes. Here's a lot of these females even have to be adult. That's the funny thing about it. They could pretty much just do like bikinis and stuff like that, and then just put it on OnlyFans. And they really could move it that, especially if you got enough fame. You don't have to go full like that. You really don't. But Roger Report says he's still pro marriage. He's do a show on it Sunday. Yeah, I'll definitely be with that. And you're 41, not married. And I'm saying that because I say that because you can marry like somebody in their early 30s. Like, this is the thing people don't think about. And you look at somebody like I think Concrete said the person she's married to is 50, and she's 38. The thing about it is, would it have been smarter for you to make that decision at 31? Because I mean, let's keep it real. Let's be honest. Once what's the fucking point of getting married? What's the fucking point of getting married once you north of like 36, 37 if you're a female? I don't see it. And what's the point of a dude doing that unless you're marrying an older dude?
they still need help. Oh yeah, I already.
Tell them. I don't have a problem with sex work. I don't have a problem at all with sex work. This is why I laugh at these chicks when these chicks always talk about, these women are whores overseas and 30. You don't get to do that and then talk about cuz honestly, I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. Not that I'm a I'll casually fuck a bitch that is on OnlyFans. I wouldn't care about that, but I'm not gonna make her my girl and do shit like that. Fuck buddy kind of thing. I'm not gonna wife up a chick like that. I'm not gonna take the chick like that seriously as far as like emotional commitment. Yeah, man. I like Roger Bernard. I like because they got that kind of grown man vibe. Not that I don't, but I'm more of a evangelist when it comes to the
I
gynocracy
know
type of
they.
stuff. No, Rael, because I this is like there's two ways I stream: StreamYard and YouTube Live. Right now, I only got a certain amount of hours of StreamYard, and I was really experimenting with that. I am gonna start opening it up more, but this is a YouTube Live, so I can't open it up. But at the end of the day, man, the black men are gonna do what they want to do, and the reality is, I'm gonna keep it real. I don't need anybody to validate what the fuck I do. So the reality is, I don't need like black men. Oh, some people have this thing where it's like we want to speak less marriage into existence. Most black men don't give a fuck. I don't care. Even with the stepdaddy situation, if niggas want to get married and if dudes want to do that, but do it with both eyes wide open. And my thing is, hey, if you want to roll the dice, roll it. I don't care. I really don't. And I think it gets to this point where it's like losers want other people to be losers. Like, no, or what that perception is. Yeah, man, y'all, yo, grown. Here's the reality. The reality is, I know plenty of black men that are married. I don't have less access to them or females because they're married. As far as doing business, social interactions, I don't. So this idea, like it depends on what you're dealing with. Number one, another thing too is I sometimes I think some stuff that's being said is overblown, but it is what it is. I don't know. I haven't been married. What my definition is. So I recommend you go to blackandmarriedwithkids.com because that's going to show you a lot of healthy black marriages. And I recommend you talk to people that are currently married, but even when people are currently married, that doesn't mean shit. They're married till they're not. I would say maybe Rebecca Lynn Pope is a good example. I would say go what's the chick that played the black chick? I forget her name, but she plays on Star Trek Discovery. She's the main character. I can tell you when you see women, black women, and they show their black husbands, what's the chick play Misty Knight? That's usually a good sign for me. All the time on Instagram and shit, and they're with them. I can show you examples of healthy marriages. I could show you that, but even still, I'm not married. Well, it's not about life and not being pessimistic. It's not being pessimistic saying that 80% of divorces are activated by women and X amount of marriages. And then you understand there's an economic cost to that. That's not pessimism. That's like me saying being pessimistic by saying get your colon checked, Rael. See, when you talk about being pesticides, come on, man. That's like me saying, well, you need, like, as a man, you need to reevaluate going to college because there's other ways you can get life skills other than school. Well, you're being pessimistic. No, I'm basically opening up your options. The reality is we are not in the same world as 40 years ago. We're not. That's facts. That is undebatable. That's undebatable. And as you can see, with even call those women calling Kevin, a lot of these chicks ain't got no interest in marrying a dude they were perceived that is not high value in their mind or high in demand. That's facts. So why? So I mean, and then we come back to because we're not even talking about like SYSBM is not against marriage. They're just like don't feel like you got to marry a black woman, and chances are you probably won't. And now you start to see how much people really value marriage because they're like, no, fuck that. If you ain't, you might as well not get married if you're not gonna marry a black woman. That's where the pro-blackness comes into it. Because if you're a bachelor, then you're always eligible to get fucked by a black woman and have a kid, right? The one on Bernard's channel, maybe. No, it's not that I'm cutting off, I'm muting it. Yeah, basically the way they want to go, if you let the women do it, they want to make it so they want to criminalize buying sex. They want to penalize or criminalize buying sex, but they want to make not they don't want to make selling sex legal, but they want to decriminalize it. That's why I am not for I'm telling you, if you're a man, do not be for decriminalizing strip prostitutes. Because with that makes it so they can do what they do, and then dudes that buy it can still be charged for God knows what. No, fuck that. That's why real talk. Yeah, I'm in favor of OnlyFans because that allows you to tax all that. That number one is healthier as far as, well, at least physically, as far as STDs. Number two, it makes it easy to tax that shit. Don't cash app them. Don't do nothing. It makes it easy to tax it, and you tax the living shit out of it. Tax that ass. So I'm for it. But do not let them do that because all that's gonna do is create a dual thing. And women don't care about protecting their own interests because they're stupid like that. They'll sit there and throw shit under the bus. Rael, I didn't say that, and that's an emotional statement. I'm saying there are no successful marriages in America. That's not what I said. But at the same time, You make it like I wouldn't be. You make it like there's no economic cost to divorce. They even Think and Grow Rich said one of the worst things that can happen to you financially divorce, and divorce is one of the leading causes of poverty. And that's a statement that sounds like you just trying to justify why you want to do what you want to do. I'm looking at this purely cold. I'm not 100% against marriage. I'm not. But at the end of the day, I see what the fuck I see. And y'all are just trying, and see, the difference is what you all are trying to do is saying, yeah, 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 but fuck that. Now some people would say that in relationship to business. Some people would say, oh, well, I can say the same. I'm gonna make the argument for you. Some people say, oh, well, you can say the same thing about business. You can say the same thing about anything. There's a high degree of you lose. I'll even take network marketing for example. They say 95% of people in network marketing don't make money. So why would you ever even endorse that if 95% of people fail? The reason why I would endorse it is because most people fail because they don't have, number one, that's something that it's a you thing. It's not a, well, you're dependent upon another person and another person can just blow your shit up. So that's one difference. The other difference is a lot of that has to do with knowledge and skill. It's like sales, it's like business. That's different. You're in control of those things a lot more. I didn't say you didn't get it. I didn't say you got emotional. I said that's an emotional question. Because you know good and well I'm not saying that all marriages don't end. It's not about me getting mad, but that, like, when you, that's what black people have a bad habit of wanting to make things absolutes when an argument doesn't fit what they're trying to say. They'll say, well, you saying everything happens, so you saying all black, well, you hate all black women, you saying all black women got STDs? No, but if 50% of them have it, that's an alarm. You saying all black women are single mothers? You saying all marriages fail? They don't have to fail. 80%. That might as well be all. I mean, like, it's 80%, and then they say it's X amount of percent. I mean, I'm telling you what the, and see, here's the thing. That tells you everything about the environment that we're getting married. You know what? Fuck this. You know what we need to do? I need to email BGS, and then we need to have like a 2 hour stream or some shit. And I'm gonna get BGS on that bitch. I'm gonna get King. We gonna do that because I want to talk to somebody that's got a family. Because you know me and BGS disagree. Because BGS kind of says a lot of the same stuff Kevin says when it comes to having kids, saying you can't have a certain amount of psychological development until you have a kid. I understand where he's coming from, but I kind of disagree with that. But he believes that. So what you call it applies to marriage. He actually applies to having kids. So, and this is a man that has kids that either been proposed to legitimately or is married. So clearly, him not being married has it like cut off a generational gap, right? And I'm curious to what he thinks about this. Maybe he'll agree with you. And then, Ryle, I would rather, if we do a round two of this conversation, have this conversation with that. Because what is do I want because see, people can easily dismiss what the fuck I'm saying because they can say I don't got kids, I ain't married. Well, you know what? Let's put people in the pocket that have been married, are married, have been married, got kids, got grandkids. You know, they got some experience that people can't try to just charge me off to. And then let's have a conversation. That's what I'd rather have. That way it's not a, oh, well, you just saying that. Now we remove some of the things that people like to associate with me on. Because I think that would be a good round two of the conversation. Because I've never really heard BGS talk about marriage. I've heard him say that the women that he was with, BGS made a conscientious decision not to marry the females he had kids with. He said that some of them wanted marriage, but he didn't want to marry them because they didn't want to cooperate. And then when you look at what's going on with his kids, the good, the bad, the ugly, at the end of the day, his son's married. His daughter was proposed to by her, the child's father, and she said no. So she had the option, which is pretty much the metric by which women should be judged in the modern era. She clearly had the option, a lot of commitment. So obviously, based on his parenting and the combination of his and the women he had kids with, you see what I'm saying? So I think that, and so clearly BGS understands what finances is, what wealth is, the economic, socioeconomic thing, the fourth. It'll be kind of the thing with the single mother thing with the fourth industrial revolution as well, as far as having kids. That it is more important for you to have babies than it is for you to be married. And most of them are creating laws that validate that. So what we're really doing is going against the tide because they have no problem putting the economic penalties on men. So my point, but at the end of the day, this video was really about saying I understand what Kevin is saying, who he's talking to, and I do think he has a right to say that. And I think there's a lot of black men that agree with it. Now, whether I agree with them is a different story, as you can clearly see as the way this video has gone. But at the end of the day, I'm not for telling black men what to do or saying these are the options. And the main thing you see me argue is when dudes try to undercut the options. They try to make it sound like they try to shame niggas and say, oh, well, you're this, you're that. You know, that's then it's like, okay, you don't really have a logical argument. So people are sitting here trying to really, you don't, or not even, you don't have a logical case. So what people are trying to do is try to use extraordinary shit, like emotional shit, to try to get dudes in line. I'm always going to rail against that. The red pill in me is always, and red pill is not something the dudes are just taking on in order to not grow the fuck up. That's not what that is. Hell, you want to talk about grown man shit? Shit, we can talk about Dennis Sperling. He ain't married. He's got kids with multiple women. Like shit, I can show you examples of motherfuckers that got all the I'm not talking about Rael in general. I can show you examples of plenty of motherfuckers that got all their check boxes. All of the check boxes. Other than that one thing. And then the thing about it is, what about all these dudes that are married and divorced? So marriage is just this thing you're supposed to go through pretty much knowing it's like a temporary contract? Is that what it is? What's the point of getting married if you pretty much, unless you're going to say, okay, I'm in this marriage for 20 years while I raise these kids? Okay, fine, I'll give you that. But what about getting married and you know in 10 years that shit's over? Oh, well, you never know that. Well, statistics will tell you. It's like you know you're going to lose your money when you go to the casino. It's almost getting that likely. Well, there's a chance you could come out. Yeah, there is. That's not what the house wants. And the government doesn't give a shit so much about marriage. The government gives a shit about having children. Because there ain't no, the upper elite are going to do what they're going to do anyway, even if they don't get married. Remember, Donald Trump has been married 3 times. And Donald Trump had money before he got married. That might be my next everyone hates black men, the marriage thing. Okay, that's a good point about the limbo. But the thing about it is they're conversations. Conversations are ongoing, Rael. So I mean, I've told, here's the thing. If black men, here's the thing. When it comes to marriage, the problem with marriage is the dudes that are pro-marriage leave dudes in limbo. They just say get married, agree, the end. They don't actually go into all the other shit I'm talking about. So where is the marriage channel? Where is the marriage series? We're going to talk about with black men that are married, have been married. Hell, even Fantastic ain't railing for marriage like that. And he is married. Where is that? That's a hole. There's a market for that. So where the dudes that are married, we're going to just deal with dudes for the most part, either are married, have been married, to call in, and we're going to have a conversation. Where is that? Everybody else stay in the chat if you ain't never been married. Or at least dudes that are open to marriage. Where is that? Because at the very least, even if I'm not allowed to be involved in that, I can make a video against it if they say some off-the-wall shit. So, I mean, the manosphere's job is not necessarily to promote a certain aspect. If people see a hole in the market and people are passionate about it, I saw a hole in the gynocracy, saying the gynocracy, the word is not being said enough, it's not being brought to clarity, and I took it upon myself to really hit that. Same thing with marriage. There's a market for it as far as dudes talking about that in the manosphere. Why isn't it? Why is it? It's almost like dudes don't really want to stand on it. Because like marriage rates are going down in the white community. It's not going up. Marriage rates in every other aspect, other race is going down. Other than Asia, it's not going up. So they're more catching up to where we are. So, you know, but I'm definitely interested. Because I'm interested in what BGS has to say about that. I'm interested, you know, I don't think, like, I clearly, Officer Charles ain't married. You know, I not clearly, but I don't think he's married. O'Shea, I mean, so I'm interested. And like what folks got to say that people can't really pull the life card on. But anyway, this has been a very riveting discussion. Like I said, I want to end this video the way I started. You know, my thing is, I understand again. This charge that Kevin is telling people, black men to marry Strag, that's not true. I'm not even gonna argue. That's not true. That's a lie. It's a lie. Number one. Number two, he has a right to basically promote it in a way. And number two, most of Kevin's subscribers are not in from the manosphere necessarily. So a lot of y'all be acting like, oh, well, y'all got corporate stock in his subscribership. No. No. But, and I think he has a right to say what he wants to say as he wants to say it. It's like people have a right to resign and break that shit down. But I don't consider that polluting the manosphere. I don't consider that at all. That's not the same as like a Mary Brown or motherfuckers to go to Cynthia G and then try to carry water for these hoes. Like that. That's not the same thing. Fucking Angel Ramirez is not the same thing. I've seen dudes come and do that. That's not what Kevin's doing. And the last thing I'm gonna say, and this is the most important, most dudes that agree with Kevin, they came in the door agreeing with what he said before he ever said it. And that's what actually probably drew them to him and to his content. Not know, oh, well, these are dudes that are young and dumb and they don't know no fucking better. Because dudes that are young and dumb and don't know no better, he's saying to Bill, get your shit together. Well, I got my shit together. Build some assets. And then come back to marriage when you're like 29, 30, 31, 33. That's what he says. If you wanted to just sell men to Strags, you would tell young dudes when they're got a lot more testosterone in them to get married. That's what you would do. And in my opinion, if you're really trying to help a female that's on some feminism shit, you do better giving them Kevin and giving them Rebecca Lynn Pope. And as a dude, probably same thing. It's a good combination. If they're already on that shit. I would also throw in Dennis Sperling as well. Because Dennis Sperling will throw in the nuances that I will talk about. And that dude does make $1 million a year. So anyway, with that being said, it's not, okay, then y'all need to push marriage then. It's not about because the very fact that you're countering people like us, the reason what we're doing is we're countering the narrative of marriage is going to save everybody. That's what we're countering. Marriage is harming black men more than it's helping black men. That's a fact. That is a fact. That is a statistical fact. How black men interact with women is economically harming them. And marriage is a part of that. Getting women pregnant is fucking them up, and marrying women that are not qualified to be married, because most of these dudes are not marrying females that are qualified to be wives, is fucking them up economically. It's one of the biggest hits to us economically. That's why we talk about it. And the truth is, dudes can always decide. A dude that's 23 to say, I will never ever get married, can always decide to get married later on. Alan Roger Kerr is a testament to that. So the reality is, even if we're wrong, they can always change their mind. But if dudes get married and they get married for the wrong reasons and fuck themselves up, they may not come out of that. And it's likely they won't. That's the difference. You all are convincing somebody to basically make a lifelong commitment that can have a life impact. I'm convincing them to basically put a stay on the decision. So what I'm saying is a lot more safer than what you're saying. That's the difference. Anyway, that being said, this is Edward signing off. Hold on. What was the last one? If they abolish alimony, let's divorce you. We'll see. Absolutely. That's another thing. If you want to talk about solutions, because everybody want to talk solutions, if folks are so pro-marriage, they need to get rid of no-fault divorce. They need to have marriage court reform. They need to we need to update these laws as reflective on how many of these women are able to get high paying jobs, are able to get jobs, because it is not north of 1960. The laws where you can rape your wife apparently is not, the laws are different. So you need to upgrade that. They're not, I mean, it ain't gonna stop you from having kids. Paternity tests need to be mandatory. These things are not going to stop children from being born. I'm not saying to give men the birth control pill, but it's time to be fair. And some of that stuff may go that way anyway. But the point, so we want to talk solutions. Let's talk solutions. But if people truly advocate for marriage, then they need to advocate for the environment that produces marriage, at least legally. But I don't see that. What I see people saying is everything is fine the way it is. Just do it. It ain't it, like people are making me sound like I'm an alarmist. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm just telling you what the shit is. If you want to do what you want to do, go ahead and do it. We'll see what happens. We'll see. And I'm not gonna be mad about it because hey, I know what I'm doing for myself. I don't require other men to do the same shit I'm doing. I'm not under any illusion that the gynocracy is going to be flipped. I'm not under any illusion that black men are all of a sudden going to start to travel. Most black men are going to keep on doing what the fuck they're doing. Trends move slowly. Just like how it didn't take that long for the stepdaddy market to completely get removed. But you still have dudes getting being stepdaddy. And when dudes say they didn't know, I'm be like, you shouldn't have had to know. You live in the information age. You shouldn't have had to listen to some manosphere to look at. Everybody knows the statistics as far as how marriage lasts. Most people know the statistics as far as who activates these divorces because it's cross-racial. You know the information. If you're a dude and you choose to say, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway, oh, that's on you. That's on you. But anyway, with that being said, this is Edward signing off. Peace. Everybody says that. Y'all just allude to it, B. Anyway.